Hello and welcome. This video is intended as sort of an introduction to the mechanics of the class as opposed to the content of the class. So I'll be covering such topics as the syllabus, what's available in Canvas, and class expectations and workload. This should not take very long. First of all, possibly most of you have taken an online course at this point. This one should be no different than any others. If you have not, there's an introductory module that will guide you through the, how to set up a Canvas course and how to get used to it. I've made it as simple as I possibly can. When you open up Canvas, there's links on the left side, including syllabus, modules, grades, and Conferzoom. I believe that's all. That's all you need. You should start out with the syllabus tab. Click on there. It'll give you you can actually get a printout of the syllabus for the course, which has all the information in here plus a little more, including my contact information if you're not able to retrieve that elsewhere. What really is important is understanding how the modules work. So for this class, there's a module for every week of class given by date. So it looks like there's a lot in there, but really it's just divided in that way so that you can constantly stay on track. I've tried as much as possible to make it a pattern so that every week is very similar. Once you get into the groove of it, the expectations should be very clear. It might take a little getting used to. The setup of the course it's the same from week to week. You'll start out the class. They are open at midnight on Mondays, except this week because there's a holiday. And they close at 11:59 p.m. on the following Sunday. So you have the full week to do the assignments and do the reading. There's a discussion component, there's a reading component, and there's a homework assignment component in most cases. So you'll need to kind of pay attention to the expectations there. The discussion, in order for the discussion to work properly, you'll have to post an initial discussion on Thursday in order to give time for other students to reply by Sunday. So if that doesn't happen the first week, I'll kind of prompt you. You'll notice that very quickly. You need to post in the discussion by Thursday first, and then the responses can come in by Sunday. On Sunday night, everything is due. You'll have the homework assignment, the discussion as a whole, and in some cases, most cases, you'll have a quiz. The quizzes aren't difficult. They're supposed to get you focused on terminology and maybe basic concepts and things like that. The grade distribution you can find in the course outlines and expectations on Canvas. I believe it's 30% for essays, 30% for homework, 20% for discussions, and 10% for quizzes. I think that's it. Don't quote me on that. The essay dates have not been put in yet. You'll have plenty of time. I think you'll have at least a month to prepare the essays. There's 3 total. The first one, at least the first one, the prompt is something that you do not choose. It's something I give to you. And after that, you more or less have free reign. And we'll discuss those as they come up. This class is not, it's not easy, and it's not because I'm making it difficult. It's because there's a lot of reading. Philosophy is one of the disciplines that requires you to read constantly. Philosophers aren't, as we like to classically imagine them, walking around in the open marketplace conversing with one another. Nowadays, philosophers read other people's books and, continue to read other people's books. There's a lot of reading. There's approximately 15 to 20 pages per week, which is pretty standard. And in this class, that's the expectations and the way the text is written. It's pretty much on par with the way a UC intro class would be. So, for those of you that are saving money by taking a community college course, you're getting the same education. Yay. And based on the amount of reading and the amount of attention to assignments that's required, it's approximately 9 hours per week you should be working on this class. That's not actually at all unusual. I find that students spend significantly less than that preparing their assignments, so it's your grade. But 9 hours is that's not beyond a reasonable expectation per week. So we'll talk about the difficulties of the readings and that in another video. Which brings me to the textbook. There's no textbook to purchase for this course, thanks to COVID and having so much free time. I was able to write a textbook for this online class, which is now in its 3rd iteration. You can download that under class resources, and all of the text from the textbook is also included in the modules, so you don't actually have to download the textbook if you don't want to. Some students like to do that because it's all in one place that way, and there's actual page numbers. And maybe you want to print it out and read it in your chair as opposed to looking at your computer or your phone, but you don't have to do that. The only concern there is there's some places where it's updated or it's modified, or I've added content that you would not find in the actual textbook. You should check the content pages in the modules if you're downloading the textbook, just to make sure you can see the secondary sources and things like that. If you see issues with the textbook, there's maybe something that's not clear, or something that's could be maybe needs some more explanation, or there's basic grammatical errors, please just email me and let me know. I really appreciate it. Both semesters that this has been going, students have been emailing me with corrections. It's really helpful. It only went through one edit, so it's a rough draft. But hey, you're saving $90. It's good for you. It's good for everyone. My contact information should be listed in the syllabus. If you get the syllabus you download, it's right at the top. My email address is pretty easy to get, and there's also my cell phone number. I can easily be reached through text messages. You can't expect a reply immediately in every case, because I do work a 9-to-5 job that's not related to the college. So I would be able to text you back by the end of the day, basically. Please feel free to text. It's not all an intrusion. It's not inconveniencing me. This is what I'm here for. If you have a question, you can send an email, you can send a text. If you call the number, I will guaranteed not answer it unless you leave a voicemail. I don't answer my phone, but I will respond to a text message. Don't feel like you're wasting my time, please. This could be anything from having to do with material in the class or some other issue that's maybe a personal issue. It's all fair game. It's fine. So as far as resources for this class, there is a page called Class Resources under the first module. It will be made the splash page after the first or second week. And there's some pretty good resources in there for philosophy. The two that I would really suggest you use for the class are the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, but more importantly, the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It's well written, it's not too complicated, and they pretty much have everything that we deal with. They have a page or two on it. I provide the links in the Canvas pages when possible. That's a really good resource. A really bad resource is Quora. Don't go and Google a question and post me a response. That's not going to get you where you need to go. We need to understand the material, you don't need to feed it back to me verbatim or give me someone else's impression of it. I really don't care. I want to hear your interpretation of it. I want to hear how you understand it or misunderstand it. Wikipedia is also not a great place. You can probably get some good historical background to some of the topics, but it goes in depth in places where we really don't need to go in depth, and it also has some inaccuracies for some of the material. So if you want to be kind of assured of what you're learning, Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. There's some other links on the class resources page you can look through. They're divided by topic. They're not all serious resources. There's some entertaining things in there. There's some resources for popular philosophy, magazines and things like that. The New York Times actually has an opinion piece that's written, I believe it's daily, by a man named Simon Critchley, who was my advisor. It's actually a good resource for philosophy and current events, and there's a link to it in the resources page. I'll make you aware of these as we go along as well. If you want resources for general college and college administration, they are available in the introductory model in Canvas as well, and I will usually post an announcement giving you the same list or an updated list sometime throughout the semester. And these resources go anywhere from, how do I get access to the library, which you can do online, of course, if you didn't know that. You can read books online now, to I'm in an abusive relationship and I need out. Anything. There's all personal issues, developmental issues with having to do with your academics, professional career moves, anything. The campus has quite a few resources. So the last thing, and I'm going to say it now, and it will still be a problem, and I totally expect that. Plagiarism is a word that we use every college, and it's an ongoing issue. So when you submit an assignment for this class, it goes through Turnitin. And Turnitin does a search, and it's not just a web search. They anything that's ever been submitted for this class, for example, goes into Turnitin, and they use that as a resource. So if you use somebody's, answers from a previous semester or part of an answer, it shows up. Now, when you submit an assignment, there's going to be a percentage or a grade, a sort of score you get. If you're hitting above 25%, it's not great, and that should sort of be a red flag. If you have a concern about whether or not you're plagiarizing, please ask me. If you want to prevent plagiarism, all you have to do is answer the question to the best of your knowledge without looking at anything online. Read the text and answer the question. That's it. I guarantee that your words won't show up. They won't cause a red flag to go up. The biggest concern is that, let's say the biggest reason people get caught up in Turnitin is because they don't quote material properly. So the basic thing to remember is if you're using a direct quote from the textbook or from Wikipedia, which I just told you not to use, or Quora, which you definitely shouldn't use, if you're using a direct quote and you're taking the words verbatim, put quotes around that text, and then somewhere at the end, indicate the source. That's what you have to do. You have to cite your sources. If you use material from a source that you're not quoting verbatim, for example, historical or biographical information on one of the philosophers that you've gone through and sort of reworded, you didn't make that information, so you still need to cite the source. You don't need to quote it, but you should say where the material came from. That will prevent most of your problems with plagiarism. In cases where plagiarism is an issue, you get a 0 on the assignment, I tell you that it's plagiarized, you have a chance to fix it, and that's the end of that. It never happens again. And the general rule is, once you correct it, 2 times you get a reference, and the reference is not what you want. So if there's any issues with that, please contact me. In my experience, students plagiarize not because they're lazy, it's because they feel their answers won't be sufficient for the assignment. I would suggest you try to see what kind of a grade you'll get before you try to plagiarize. Just try it. You might be a lot smarter than you think. On that note, if you have further issues or questions about this material after running through the first module, please send me an email or a text, and I will happily clarify.